Developed and published by Capcom, Street Fighter X Tekken was the very first game I ever bought for the PlayStation Vita. I'm not quite sure why I got the game. I guess at the time I was just curious as to how well the Vita could translate a home console fighting game. Now I've played the game on both platforms, the PS3 and Vita, and I'm happy to say that the difference is very minimal, or at least minimal when the two versions are not placed side by side. Considering the fact that it's a handheld, the Vita comes pretty damn close in replicating the console look. I noticed only a few minor graphical alterations. Texture and detail have been reduced, as well as the background animations, which appear a little less active than they were on the consoles, but have no fear, they are still very pretty to look at. Now, even with the slight graphical drop, the characters are still super sharp and sport excellent detail. Some of the close-ups look incredible, as do the screen-filling special and super arts. I didn't notice much or hardly any slowdown at all. This Vita port ran very smoothly. My only complaint regarding the visuals is that I wish there were more variety in the backgrounds. Although they are colorful in detail, it would have been nice to have some familiar levels from past Street Fighter or Tekken games. When it comes down to it, Street Fighter X Tekken is a great looking game on the Vita, whether you're comparing it to the console or not. You just can't help but be amazed at how sharp and clean everything looks. Although crystal clear and easily heard, the audio is a mixed bag. Some of the techno-inspired tunes are pretty cool, but for the most part the music is pretty forgettable. The same can't be said about the sound effects though. Punches and kicks are varied and provide a high impact feel. These hard-hitting sound effects add weight to the moves being thrown around and really get you pumped to play the game. Characters are given your choice of English or Japanese voiceovers, which is a nice touch and in all honesty, probably the best part about the audio. Other than that, there's really nothing else I can say. You won't be blown away by the sound design, but what's available does the job just fine, even if you've already heard this kind of soundtrack somewhere else in a previous fighting game. Now this was a tough category to score. It really depends on who's playing the game and in what capacity. If you're playing the game for fun, the controls are perfect. They're responsive enough for what you want them to do and nothing more. But if you're playing this game for competition, then you might want to think twice about this purchase. Now I'm no expert in the fighting genre, but what I do know is that an adequate control layout is essential to victory in a fighting game. Unfortunately, the Vita's control setup does not provide that. There are enough buttons, but trying to pull off the more advanced EX moves, especially in a combo, will prove difficult. Because of this, everything just feels more cramped and cluttered. Capcom tries to compensate for this by assigning the touchscreen to act as all three punch or kick buttons. This works as a standalone feature, but I found it quite difficult to incorporate into an actual fight. Going from face buttons to touch controls is a bit cumbersome. I'm not saying it's impossible to pull off combos on the Vita. I'm just saying you're gonna have a harder time trying to do it. Although it was fun for the first hour or two, I found myself growing tiresome of Street Fighter X Tekken on the PS Vita. Not only were the controls tiresome to use, but just the game in general. I never really was a fan of this game, even when it debuted on the PS3. I didn't find the gem system all that interesting, and even with the inclusion of the Tekken characters, it still felt more like Street Fighter than anything else. I decided to do some more research on the game, and after learning more about the fighting system, I found the game to be quite interesting. I figured the reason why I disliked the game so much in the beginning was probably because I simply did not understand the fighting mechanics. The inclusion of the gems, what they do, and how they were activated baffled me. Cross rush and cross cancels? How these were even incorporated into an actual combo always crossed my mind. But after spending some time in the trial and training modes, I started to develop a better appreciation for the game and what it was trying to do. Understanding the complexity of the fighting system might seem daunting at first, so give it a chance. With that being said, I would like to note that I am no expert in Street Fighter X Tekken. The Vita version also comes with all the DLC and console exclusive characters, which can be transferred over to the PS3 as well. Online matches will depend on your connection. Some of them range from pretty decent with a minimal amount of slowdown to others that look like slideshows that are barely unplayable. My connection is pretty slow, but most fights were definitely playable. After playing for a little bit, I was surprised at how many people were still playing this game, as I was always able to find a match. It's quite fun to play against other people online, although you will run into the occasional douchebag who always quits the fight before they're about to lose. Street Fighter X Tekken doesn't control as well as it does in the consoles, but it's a very good port in its own right. A wealth of gameplay modes, customizations, and characters, Street Fighter X Tekken has a lot to offer. It's not the type of game on the Vita that you can play for an extended period. But if you're a Street Fighter enthusiast looking for a quick burst of fun to help pass the time, then this is the perfect game for you. Okay guys, that was my Street Fighter X Tekken review for the PlayStation Vita. Leave a like, leave a comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you bought the game or got it for free on PSN, then let me know what you thought about it. Take care and I'll see you next week.